Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, February the 1st, new month. We've reached the rank of 20, which, well, we got as high as 19, I guess, and then we fell back down to 20. But starting with this month, things are going to be different, so we're going to see probably at least a little bit of a higher climb in the ranked play. Unless things just change completely. That would be... yeah, things might not change at all, actually, is the other thing. We may very well find that I still end up at rank 20. Let's see. We're starting slightly earlier today, but not incredibly earlier. Do I want to play 6 pirates? Which could be a little bit different, or cast 25 spells. Yeah. 3 wins with the druid or hunter will probably get 25 spells done. Let's just double check to make sure we've done the tavern brawl. Yes, we have. Alright, and while we're over here, let's go ahead and set this favorite as our new favorite. And like, we were doing Rasticon's Rumble, but the one before that, I guess, was maybe this one? Yeah. Frostwolf. Alright. These card backs are pretty dumb. I have to say, it's ridiculous that we're getting one a month. Spell Hunter will have actually no problem playing spells. So I've been playing Deponia Doomsday, which is the 4th game in the Deponia series, and finally figured out that, oh, it's actually Goodbye Deponia, which is the 3rd game in the series that is getting released to, I believe, Switch and maybe some other consoles. At the beginning of Deponia Doomsday, there was definitely some frustration I ran into where the game was repetitive and obtuse, and it was just hard even for a point-and-click adventure game to figure out what to do or what the game wanted you to do. And then it's a game that centers around time loops and time travel, so you end up having to use the same environment and the same items in 2 different ways, which is slightly annoying because it's just repetitive content. Although I'm now past that point and I'm making decent progress, but I am running into this consistent problem where there's too long of an amount of conversation whenever you click on anything. So you'll get 4 or 5 lines of dialogue even if you're not doing the right thing, when it really should just be like 4 words. It's like, I can't do that. That's a bad idea. And I don't think so. Simple things like that are ideally what I'd want to see happen as far as responses, particularly negative responses, but it's not what happens. And so the game feels stretched out because of that. Deponia has this art style in which every background and every scene is just full of stuff, and that's very pretty, but it's also very distracting, and then it has kind of a sharp contrast to what really is going on, because in reality, even if the scene has a lot of background animation and sometimes even characters, the things you can actually click on and interact with are extremely small. Now, it does have a hint system, which I'm using almost consistently to see what can I really interact with versus things that I can't interact with. But it does kind of feel like it's just a bad move on the decision-making process to have it work that way.
To my side.
Okay. kill one of these guys. And we'll take an explosive shot. And Deponia Doomsday feels like the third game in the series, Goodbye Deponia, ended on a sour note and nobody really liked it, and it feels like Deponia Doomsday is basically just making fun of people who complained about the game ending not on a happy ending. And well, I wouldn't say a sour note as much as a bittersweet note. So I'm not sure that, kind of knowing Daedalic's style, I'm not sure that we're going to get a happy ending in the fourth game or anything really different, or if it's just that the Deponia series is going to get stretched out and continued for as long as possible, as long as Daedalic can make money on it, or if this fourth game is maybe the beginning of a new trilogy, or if it's the end of a quadrilogy. But there definitely are some things that are lacking in the quality of it. Let's see. Of course, I'm not really playing other games besides Hearthstone when I record other things, so Deponia is the only thing I've been doing. And there have been some times, particularly at the beginning when I was getting frustrated, where it was very much like I'd play for an hour and a half and then I'd be like, oh, I'm tired of listening to the lines of dialogue, so I'm just skipping through dialogue, or I'm tired of playing this game, so I'm just taking a break. So I don't know if I'm really making a great amount of progress, but I am making progress. And there certainly were days in December where I probably didn't even think about doing anything for an extra day. Since it's Friday, and I doubt anybody will be, too many people will be coming to the stream, although YouTube is got an experiment within an experiment, they say, in which they're going to try and add an explore tab. I don't know if that's on the trending tab or if this is going to be its own separate button at the bottom of the cell phone app, or the Android app that I use. And inside the explore tab are going to be different categories, and what they're doing inside that experiment is to do creators on the rise who have less than 10,000 subscribers, which, alright, that might really work for me, you know. If somebody's exploring on the gamers if somebody's on the explore tab looking at gaming category, that might actually turn into to a point where my particular channel might get promoted, but probably not, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's a minimum that, even though they're not saying, that they would talk about. Also, I don't know if I really fall into the category as a new creator or a creator on the rise in ever. Like, my channel's too old at this point, and to really fall under the category of a new creator. And unless I got a big hit, which will probably never happen because of the algorithm, I would need a big hit to get a bunch of new subscribers to then potentially trigger a calculation that says, oh, he just got 100 new subscribers, so he might be on the rise. Unless they're just going to do it kind of randomly. And if they do it kind of randomly, I guess whatever at that point. I'm playing all these cards, but I don't think I'm actually going to win at this rate. This feels like I'm getting mecha-thuned. But in general, the idea makes sense. If there is, just for like 1 hour, 1 day, 10% of the audience on the Explore tab, 1% of the audience on the Explore tab. If it was just a random person always that was getting recommended on the Explore tab, and not somebody that was getting looked at by some team in Google and thus given special treatment, then maybe then I could get a few hundred extra subscribers, get up to 1,000 subscribers, get back to getting pennies. I also heard somebody talk about how they 2 years on now with the adpocalypse, that the adpocalypse might be over. I mean, the permanent effect is still there for small content creators. Like, people with less than 1,000 subscribers and less than 4,000 watch hours are still kicked out of the YouTube Partner Program. So unless they were willing to undo that, which they're not, unless Google was willing to undo that, the problem is still there, and it's still been doesn't feel like 2 years, it feels like it's only been 1 year, but whatever. Yeah. Like, it's still been 1 year of absolutely no ad revenue on people's YouTube channels. And I'm sure lots of people did not create new channels, did not add content to their channels, gave up on their channels in the meantime. But I guess that's all I can really say about that for now. Let's see.
Pain, speak to me. Let the pain speak to me.
Let's go through the news and just try to wrap this up relatively quick. You know, I say this every time, but particularly on Fridays, I don't see a reason to drag this out. I do need to be better about breaking up episodes, though. Like, I've kind of fallen into this weird position.
The eternal
Wait.
hunt has begun.
So, take this, I guess, and maybe take this, and maybe I can play 2 of them next turn. So yeah, let's just go through the news and don't think that there's really too much news or too many new games. And as for daily quests on Hearthstone in particular, I don't actually think there are very many of those either, because we got a little ahead on the daily quests. Right. This and this and this. What do we want to do? Whenever a friendly beast dies, gain +2/+1. I want to do this and see if this might start him down a path of fatiguing, but I don't know if that's really the case. What are these different colors? That seems odd. Yeah. So he's just like destroying my deck. Alright, fine. You want to play that way? We'll see what we can do here. Make you out of cards again. Let's see. Charge. And Death Knight.
Job's done.
Well, now he's playing Dead Man's Hand.
Me hungry.
I'm out of cards.
What is this guy doing? Whatever he's doing, it seems like it's genius. This is genius, whatever it is. Alright, we need to kill something or we're gonna lose. Is this the best we can do? Only minion on the battlefield, that won't work either. I have no idea what strategy this is. This looks brand new as a concept. This was actually one of the first interesting games I've played in a long time. And we only need 3 stars to get up higher. It seems like they're not spread out very well though. Like the 3 stars feels like they should be a lot further. Alright, let's start going through games. We have a game called Miko Satori, which looks like it's an RPG. I kind of like the animation style here. It looks like it's a hex-based fighting RPG game. So it's probably a no, but I'm kind of interested in seeing what this reception on this is. This also kind of looks like it might be a cell phone game. So I'm going to put this on the follow list and we'll see. Early access, $18.99. And it's from somebody I don't really recognize. But I'm willing to give this a follow and we'll see how the reception is. That's about as far as I'm willing to go with it though. So next we have a game, Nomads of the Fallen Star. And this does not look interesting as an RPG, although this art style is probably a little sharper than one would expect. Problem with all this is the screenshots are just showing me menus and not characters or any action in the gameplay. It looks like it's a checkerboard fight. Let's see, how much is this? $11.69 discounted. Let's go ahead and play a card over here. Let's see. Nomads of the Fallen Star does not really strike me as interesting. You know, it's occurring to me, if it is going to be a case, and this is all just wild speculation really, but it seems to be the case that Steam games that are adult focused, adult games, only seem to come out on a Friday every 2 weeks. Maybe it would be extra work, but maybe I should just skip all the adult games for Friday. And then we could have an interesting theme on Fridays where it's like hey, if you don't want to watch on Fridays, well then that's like, you're just like everybody else. But if you do make the special effort to watch the Friday episodes, that's where all the anime adult games are gonna be, or all the adult games in general are gonna be. Let's face it, most of them are anime, but not all of them. It would be a little unfair to those games, and it certainly would be singling them out and treating them differently. Excuse me for sneezing. But I guess there might be some logic to it too. Generally speaking, just in theory, I would not want to single out any style of game and treat it differently. I would not want a game to lose its first 24-hour sales just because it's a specific style of game. If the first 24-hour sales means anything to anybody, yeah, it might mean something to somebody, I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do this. And let's see, let's go ahead and attack this guy.
Job's done.
Then end the turn. So yeah, there definitely would be some unfairness of that. On the other hand, it's my YouTube channel, so anything that makes the content better is something to be considered. Although it does start to get into the dangerous field of being like sensationalized journalism, where you're reporting on the things that sell, or reporting on things differently because you can make it sell. So I don't know, I'd have to think about it, and maybe if I got some feedback, that might be an interesting thing. Right now, I guess Steam is making that decision for me anyways. Let's do this. And do this. And attack you. TechRaptor has an article for us. Epic Games Store regional pricing is now available in 230 plus countries. So they're working to set up their store and make it a better place. You know, it wouldn't really take a lot of work, but it would be slightly nice if the Epic Store at least is better than like the Uplay Store. But the real details between Steam and the Uplay Store, as I see it, and I'm talking about the Uplay Store because I recently saw it and looked at it, and the Epic Store, the last time I looked at it, also had the same problem. Is the real work is in that advertising and that algorithm. The thing that puts things on the front page, having a front page, pushing people to actually buy new games and play new games, all of which are somewhat good things, because if you don't have some level of promotion of lesser known games, you do run into the danger where the video game industry is only as big as everybody plays the most recent Call of Duty and Brothers in Arms or whatever shooters, the annualized things that everybody knows will come out, or at the best, people play the big AAA games but don't even know that the indie games exist. And that's just not good for the industry in general. So I can't, in my efforts to be, and my beliefs to be pro-consumer, I can't be so pro-consumer that I would actually be anti-advertising, because I feel like a certain level of advertising can be done in a pro-consumer way. Where in comparison, the Epic Store feels like it has no real advertising right now because it has no real games on it right now. It's got like 10, so the front page can just be all 10 Uplay seems like it has no store also. I did see on Reddit somebody was saying that if you sell the Steams on your own storefront, Steam keys, on your own website, Steam doesn't get a 30% cut on that. I guess that might be true, but I haven't really heard that confirmed. So, in theory, if you didn't want your game advertised, but you wanted the game redeemed on Steam, you could just sell the keys all on your website. At least that's what they're saying. I don't know how true that really is, though, because I imagine, I think I did hear at least recently Steam was going to hold back the ability to generate keys in large quantities for some questionable people, but I don't know, like, is that where the Humble Bundle gets its keys when it does is that where Humble Bundle gets its Steam keys, or is Humble Bundle getting its Steam keys from people selling and trading Steam keys? And I guess Humble Bundle has to be getting some keys directly from the publishers, which then the publishers would have to be generating those keys, probably for free on Steam. That's some of this weirdness and lack of understanding on my part. Also feeds, I think, directly into the Metro Exodus situation, where Metro Exodus convinced far too many people, it sounds like, to pre-order that game on Steam because they did not want to deal with the Epic Store. Unfortunately, I guess a lot of gamers did not have enough willpower to say, wait a minute, no, we're not going to buy this game or pre-order this game in the few hours we have left before it leaves the Steam store for 12 months. So we're going to instead pre-order it before we've seen any reviews of the game. And I said last stream that I kind of wonder if we're going to find out that Metro Exodus is actually a bad game, and that's why they didn't care about limiting their initial 12 months of sales, is because it was going to be very few sales anyways. And this may have been the perfect manipulation on Metro Exodus's part, because they seem to have created an artificial scarcity and a rush towards pre-ordering that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And I honestly think Valve and Steam probably played that the wrong way too. They should have probably, if I was them, refunded every sale and taken it off the storefront. Maybe there's some contractual reason why that can't be done, but that's what I would have done. I would have said, well, if they're gonna treat us badly like this, we're just not gonna do business with them, and thus we'll just refund everybody and not have the game on our servers and be used that way. But that's not what they went for. Instead, Valve kind of just publicly complained about it, and that was that. And I don't know how much sympathy or interest you can give to a company complaining that they're getting treated badly or unfairly. Darn it. Next we have a game on Steam called Full Moon Defender of the Cubes. I feel like I've seen a game called Full Moon before, and this doesn't look like it's a particularly good game. It may have slightly interesting backgrounds, but I think they're too busy for this side-scrolling shooter. Side shooter, interesting. I don't know. Weren't those just called shooters at some point? This is $26.24, and it feels like it's just like the same game. So either we've seen an increase here of people releasing games on Steam Direct, then taking them off Steam Direct and releasing them again, or I'm just getting deja vu for how similar some of these bad games are. Nothing really to say there though. Of course, I don't want to put that game on the follow list. Tech Raptor has an article for us. Rumor: Apple is planning a game subscription service. Apple also revoked some kind of access to the development channel, I think, of Google's on the iOS. So Google right now, or at least when the article was published, was not in a position where they could actually work on their own apps or put out any improvements. Apple's in a weird position right now, certainly, and it's kind of floundering and just trying to find its way. We've probably hit the point where Steve Jobs' ideas and concepts have all been played out. Nobody really wants to, yet again for the 4th, 5th, 6th time, replace their cell phone, their iPhone. iPhones are suffering stiffer and stiffer competition from Android phones, and yeah, pretty much just Android phones. So they need to do something if they want to stay at the tippy top that they were, or they should possibly, and this is probably a smarter move, is realize, well, there's just going to be waxing and wanings, and so we just need to hunker down and make our money from iOS sales and cell phone sales. Apple has failed the creative industry terribly with like MacBooks and their Power PC towers, whatever they're called, iMachines. I forget what they're even called. So because they didn't put in the money, they didn't invest the money they were getting from iPhone sales into making PCs and trying to stay somewhat relevant, at least in the PC market, amongst creative people who didn't want to deal with Windows 10 or Windows updates in general. There certainly would have been a great opportunity when Windows 10 came out for Apple to compete, and they basically didn't at all. And even now, like, only the most hardcore Apple fans are still sticking with them. So what would Apple do, I guess, is the question on this rumor, if they made a game subscription service? What would Apple do? What could Apple do? The problem here is Apple has really no connections in the video game industry at all. Like, they've never done a console, they've never published a game, they've never really had any connections with anybody that publishes a game. So is their subscription service really just going to be a case of is it just going to be a case of you get one free game from the iOS store a month, or they just publish out, they give away some free games and do some contracts from the iOS store, or are they trying to go the route of like a Twitch Prime loot where it's PC games, but it couldn't be PC games, so it would then have to be Mac games, and there aren't too many Mac games out there, so that doesn't really work. I mean, if you take it out of the cell phone and tablet industry, Apple fails miserably. So it has to be just cell phone and tablet games. And who's really gonna pay a subscription for cell phone and tablet games? Some people will, kids will, using their parents' credit cards, but I think that's kind of it. And I think the vast majority of everybody else is not going to be interested in that offer at all. You know, I'm trying to think, instead of from the direction of what Apple would do or could do, what could Apple actually offer? And really all Apple has is money, so if they were going to buy and acquire some game developers, there might be an idea there that you could go with. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're anywhere close to that. Like, they would have had to be slowly purchasing game developers, or at least mobile game developers, for the past 5 years to build up a game department in Apple. And Apple has been about hardware for so long, I don't think they could get back to software. They made a big switch from software to hardware at some point. So yeah, I guess if they just were quietly going to be the publishers and funders of games, that would be fine, but I don't think they'd be interested unless those games also appeared on iPads and iPhones. So then, even if they were the publisher and funders of games, let's say AAA games or small indie games, those AAA games or small indie games would be compromised by the fact that they would almost certainly be hamstrung to run well on an iPhone and an iPad, and I almost certainly would assume they wouldn't allow better versions of the same games to be put on consoles. I don't think Apple has any interest or even potentially enough money to buy Sony Entertainment, Sony Interactive, or just all of Sony. I don't think Sony would agree to that anyways, and they almost certainly don't have enough money to buy Microsoft or Nintendo. Nintendo wouldn't agree to it, definitely. So unless they could buy or own a major majority stake in either Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft, I don't see a reason why they would release on consoles. And then that just leaves PC, and then again, I don't think they would want to make PC games, or even if they did publish PC games, they'd be small indie games that are hamstrung, so they also play on iOS and iPad. So it all kind of just goes in a circle. Apple would be better doing the rumored TV instead. or maybe just hunkering down and taking modest profits every now and then, and not trying to innovate every 6 months. That kind of is a long way to say nothing, though. And Apple rumors are a dime a dozen too, so that's certainly something to take into consideration. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Heat, which is already mixed reviewed at 48%, so I don't think this is making it to the fall list. Seems like you're a Native American of some sort running around, or maybe you can play as different species. Cowboys versus species is totally the wrong word. Different groups. Cowboys an Indian style game, but I can't really call it a full asset flip because it looks like it's way more polished than that. I don't think the Oval Office would look anything like this during the time frame it's portraying. Early access game, $19.99. Apparently it has launch issues, so it doesn't even run for a lot of people. That's why it's at like 50%. This is also a multiplayer only game, so I don't have to worry about it. It's not gonna make it to the fall list. But yeah, I could have seen it maybe catching my eye. Like it has some visual polishes, this game Heat, but it's also made by somebody who made another game in 2015 that is also mixed at 57% positive. So the developer is telling a tale of making bad games. Alright. Let me read this and see if this is an actual video game related article. No, I don't think this is particularly video game related. Spike Chunsoft and Kotaro Uchikoshi debut an internet idol named ASET, which this is something that's been increasingly being done. The idea of making an anime girl into an internet idol, thus having a YouTube channel, literally just trying to squeeze the last drops of money out of small independent content creators, and instead putting it in the hand of corporations that are paying animators barely anything or to make these videos. And the sad thing is that it very possibly might work. I could see a lot of kids or people in general just not caring, not knowing why it's a bad idea to potentially watch a virtual AI driven potential. Well, I don't know if it's really AI driven. I don't know if any of them actually were, but that's where it's going to get to, is that you're just going to end up having this AI driven 3D model character that is being run for pennies on some server somewhere that is getting millions of dollars of ad revenue and visions and views for terrible content creation. Hopefully people would get tired of it a lot faster than I think they might. As for this character in particular, she doesn't look particularly interesting. Red hair, twin ponytails, cat ear headphones. She's dancing around. She has a... I mean, I guess I could just show her since I'm watching the video here. She's dancing around in just a generic background. She's rather tall and slender. They're probably pushing her to look a little bit older, definitely not in that moe style of being young and short looking. And she's singing and dancing here. Like, yeah. Don't fall for anime fans out there. Even if you do like anime, this is not going to improve the anime scene in any way to have all of YouTube filled with these kind of things. The good news is these attempts so far have pretty much failed. And I don't think that they're going to succeed in Japan. I don't think they're going to succeed in the West. As for idols and singers and dancers, that culture in Japan, I think, is still very much conceived around the idea of a real world person, not a fictional character. Let's just do this. It might sell in some of the other Asian countries, but I don't think so. And it hasn't quite yet, so it hasn't succeeded, so that's good news too. And take this and that.
Job's done.
And then return. Let's move on to something that's more video game related. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Sizen. S-Z-E-N. Let's see. This looks to me like it is potentially just an asset flip. Let me see this developer for a second. No, they haven't developed anything else. It's a VR game for free, which puts it as way too cheap for a VR game. Yeah, this feels just like an asset flip. And I can't see that symbol large enough. I was suffering from some dark screenshot syndrome too. Yeah.
Which tracks to follow?
Let's see. Play this. And then play this. And then this.
Job's done.
And then you turn. Next we have an interesting story from TechRaptor. Abandoned Nintendo 64 game Dragon Sword may be completed by Pico Interactive. Pico Interactive has been the publisher that's been putting a lot of older games on Steam. Now, I'm not sure I really condone the idea of taking an old unfinished game and spending that extra effort to giving it that extra effort so that it actually is finished seems like a kind of silly thing to do. Because while there have been some abandoned games out there that looked interesting, if they were abandoned and never picked up in some bankruptcy or their idea or concept wasn't picked up in a new game, there probably was a pretty good reason for it. Star Wars 1313 is probably one of the best examples of that, or Halo 3, probably examples of that too. As much as we'd love to see a Halo 3 at this point, there's a decent chance that it would not be satisfactory in any way. Let's see. Do this. What do I want to do? I mean, I'm just gonna play one of these, I guess. So we can get rid of this guy. So we can do this. I saw a YouTube video talking about how the game Sleeping Dogs came, where it came about from, and apparently 2 iterations before Sleeping Dogs came out was this was a game starring a female character, and it was canceled allegedly, according to this YouTube thing, specifically because it was a female character, and this was in the 90s, where it kind of makes sense though. I mean, female lead games were definitely not being made, thus they were definitely not selling. It is that catch-22. If no one is willing to try, of course there won't be somebody who sets the stage or does something new. But yeah, there's also arguments very much against that as far as female leads in video games. Metroid might be an argument for it, but I guess you'd have to say Super Metroid. I assume by the time Super Metroid came out, everybody knew Samus Aran was a female character, but to be fair, if you bought the first Metroid game within the first 6 months of it coming out, you probably didn't know Samus Aran was a female character, and even since that was really shown at the end of the game in the original Metroid, it's not like her being a female couldn't be easily overlooked by many people who just would not have even finished the game. Let's do this. So yeah, it's kind of rehashing history, but yeah, and even now, even modern times, even the Tomb Raider games, having a female-only character is difficult. Even Assassin's Creed Odyssey had to have a male character option, and I think we've probably at this point jumped over the storyline where the point where it should just always be both is an option as default, unless the writer of the story is telling a very specific story where it matters, the gender matters, which often is not the case. Let's take this, take this. And take that. Let's see. But the story here from Techcrafter, Dragon Sword may be completed by Pico Interactive. It was announced in 1998 for a 1999 release, but was cancelled for unknown reasons. In 2010, an incomplete beta was released on the web, riddled with unresolved bugs in an unfinished state. Pico Interactive had picked up the rights to the game along with the game's source code. They've also worked on 40 Winks, a platform adventure which was funded by Kickstarter for over $131,000. 40 Winks was originally released for the PS1. Oh, by the way, it seems like Sony has trademarked something, maybe not for this country, that would be capable of playing PlayStation 5 through PlayStation 1 games. So just complete full backwards compatibility. That does have a bit of believability to it because of the fact that it probably isn't very expensive to put in the extra bit of hardware that would be needed to see that happen. Yeah, I could definitely see just putting something in there that could emulate PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4 games, and then having an extra piece of cell processor in your hardware, just effectively having a PS3 in a PlayStation 5 bit of hardware so that the PS3 games would run. In all honesty, the PlayStation 4 should have done that too, but it seemed like it didn't matter. And now I imagine the price point has just changed. Let's see. There's still a pretty good chance, though. Let's not beat around the bush. That Pico Interactive would release this game. I keep going back to the story. In its already demo state, or they released it but they didn't really finish it. And looking at the screenshot, let's just put some reality here. Here's the screenshot TechRaptor has for a dragon sword. This looks horrible by modern standards. And so nobody's really gonna want to play this. Nobody has any nostalgia for that game. It never came out. Nobody's played it except for maybe a few people in the demo form. So it's almost certainly a waste of time. Let's do this. You need this. And then this. Do that. Let's do that. Do that. Next on Steam, we have a game called My Island, which is another one of these asset flip resource survival games, which is already rated mixed. What can we do to convince people that nobody wants these survival games anymore? I think we're gonna just have to wait 3 or 4 years until all of the people who started development on these games are done and have abandoned them. This game is discounted to $8.99. Yeah, it's definitely not making it to any list. And I am not getting anywhere though. Like, I need 3 victories and that's not really happening very fast. Let's see. We may run out of news before I finish all the daily quests.
Welcome to the show.
Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Warhammer Quest 2 End Times, which Warhammer, it's not Warhammer 2040K, is it? The series I'm thinking about? Might be. So this would be more the board game actually being converted to a video game. Yeah, that'd probably be really slow. This isn't a board game though that I would say, well, why not just get Tabletop Simulator instead? This is directly from Games Workshop, and I bet they don't know what they're doing when they're making games, video games. And I don't think people even are too happy with Games Workshop recently. I love the idea of potentially having token pieces that you can paint and customize, which maybe you can do that, maybe you can't. Maybe that's just the here's what your pieces look like. $17.99 is probably not terrible. I want to read the reviews. I usually don't do that here, but I actually want to read the reviews for a second and see what people say, and read the negative reviews, that is. So first, as a mobile port, it's okay, though the camera I wish had more free movement. The game is okay for its price, but don't expect much. Graphics are fairly basic. The story is all text with no voiceovers. So it looks like it's a mobile port, and that's really the only thing that people are complaining about.
I must protect the wild.
Let's see what this developer's made otherwise. Nothing. Interesting. And I guess Warhammer Quest 1 is not on Steam. So that's an awkward transition. No, it is on Steam, actually. It's just made by a different developer. And it's actually rated very positively. And honestly, it kind of looks better for what it's doing. So Warhammer Quest here 1 is available for purchase. It's rated mostly positive. I would say probably check that out. It's only from 2015, so it's barely 4 years old. Although frankly, if you're gonna play a Warhammer game, you probably should just play the real world game. I don't think it is Warhammer 40,000, 40K. There's a long list of Warhammer games, related games that aren't good on Steam.
Hello,
though. And Warhammer Quest 1 does have a Metacritic review of 55. So take that too as with a grain of salt. So yeah, that's not gonna make it to the fall list. Next we have a game on Steam called The Great Mushroom Hunt, which looks like a Bomberman clone. Yep, that's all it is a Bomberman clone for $3.59 discounted. Russian, Polish, English game. Doesn't look terrible, but it is just a Bomberman clone. And again, don't think too many people even really would want to play Bomberman, or ever really did. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Hexa, which is a puzzle game, one of these single screen Unity games where you're spinning hex cubes. It's kind of lacking in a little bit of polish, and I think I've already seen a game that was very similar to this. Look at this size of this text and just how much white space is, or in this case gray space, is being wasted. Yeah, this just does not have enough visual polish. There's no 3D effects on the hex grids or anything. It's $1.79 discounted. Let's see, what do I want to do?
For the wild.
Let's start some trouble.
Time waits for no one.
I'm starting to yawn again. Wednesday I drank an expired no-dose, which had no effect on me. That's the last of those I'll probably ever drink in my life, because they never did have any kind of effect on me. The only thing that ever works on me is 5-hour energy drink extra strength, which is what is in my hand right now. So I'm going to think very carefully about whether I want to drink that or not, to try and mess with my sleep schedule and stay awake till like 10 in the evening instead of falling asleep in a couple of hours, which very possibly is what's going to happen. I also found out that my thermostat, which I had recently changed out from a Nest to an Ecobee, because the Ecobees have remote sensors for different rooms, and that works better for my house because my room that I record in has a computer, and the computer pumps out a lot of heat, and I think the air conditioning in my house is also just not got very good duct working, so the air conditioner is just not getting to this room anywhere else. But at some point it got bumped to just be locked into a temperature, and so it's been running the house very warm. And you know, if your house is overly warm, it tends to make it a little too cozy and a little too easy to sleep. And so that the temperature is probably a major factor in my insomnia. It's just like if it's too cold, difficult to sleep. If it's too warm, difficult to wake up. If it gets really, really hot, you might wake up, but you might not. So yeah, there's another factor there. But just the fact that you could misprogram a thermostat and suffer weeks and weeks, which is pretty much what it's been, of insomnia, is not a good situation to be in. Right. Just kill this. And then let's just draw cards. And then let's end the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Changeling, which looks like a Western visual novel style game. The art style is kind of cool. It looks like it's rather unique. It doesn't seem like it's just trying to copy something. There's a little bit of weakness here, a little bit of weakness there. Sadly, I don't think people in the United States or in the West in general just can get hired to be animators, thus their level of skill and their level of practice seems like it's always a little worse. This looks rather good as a full screen image. That looked a little off on the hairstyle here. Like, okay. That looks like a face with a hairstyle added. There's nothing here tagged as far as adult content. It's $19.99. Doesn't look amazingly good though, so I don't think I'll be putting this on the follow list just because yeah, maybe I can put it on the follow list, come to think of it. In this case it might be only fair to give it a chance, yeah, and see if people like it, because I'm always thinking that if I were to cover visual novels, I wouldn't want to have to play 5, 10, 20 Japanese visual novels in a row because there's no competition anywhere else, even if that is the case. So I'll put Changeling on the follow list. We'll see what other people have to say about it. How did you silence? I guess you can silence that minion. Right. I could play this. I could play this. I could play this. Let's do this. Draw this. And this. And play this.
Sweet essence.
And I don't need to do anything else, so we'll just attack there. Gamatsu has an article for us. Modern Combat Blackout is coming to the Switch. So, an optimized Modern Combat 5 Blackout is coming to the Switch via the Nintendo eShop. I don't know Modern Combat though. It seems like it might be a mobile phone game that has been named specifically to sound kind of like Call of Duty Modern Warfare or Counter-Strike Go, games that sound, it's like a name infringement type game, you know, trademark infringement style game. Alright, let's play this.
TC-130, mental dislocator.
And let's become a copy of this. We'll kill that. And we'll take out that guy. Gamatsu has another article. Nier Automata Game of the Yorha Edition Japanese bonus content image. So Game of the Yorha Edition is Game of the Year Edition basically, but Yorha is the name of the organization that the main character B2 is a part of. So I was kind of wondering about the Game of the Year edition for Nier Automata because the PC version still has its slight problems, and so if there is a PC Game of the Yorha edition that comes out, maybe it will be the thing that has the patch that fixes everything else. At this point it would be kind of silly for me to buy Nier Automata when almost certainly there will be a Game of the Year edition that comes out. Looking at the screenshots of the bonus content, it doesn't look like it's particularly interesting. Alright. It does say the Game of the Yorha edition will be due out for the PS4 February 21st in Japan, and the PS4 and PC worldwide February 26th. Seems like it comes with some stickers and reversible box art and a dynamic theme in the Japanese bonus content. So even in the Japanese bonus content, it doesn't seem like you're getting too much extra, which is fine. Like I don't think that game in particular is well served if it has a ton of DLC, because the multiple endings, including the one where you delete your save file, kind of make it hard to do any DLC. And the game's so long anyways that would be kind of silly. So let me look at this game before we start showing it off. Let's see. Now I have to ask myself two questions when I look at these. Alright. Weird enough.
Quickly.
Do this. I'll go. Yeah, anytime I look at these games that are tagged with sexual content and nudity, I need to now scroll through them a second time on Steam and say, hey, are these people wearing school outfits? And in the trailer I'm saying that they technically are, but they're done in such a way that I think people in inside of Valve may have not caught it. That's a weird thing about, like, well, we don't like the Japanese schoolgirl outfits, and you're like, which ones? Every single school has a different high fashion outfit that only barely looks the same, similar to the others. Anyways, talking specifically about this game, we have a game on Steam called 99 Episode 1, published by Sekai Project, and we can see it's moe anime girls and a fantasy thing, sexual content. It's a visual novel, almost certainly, but yeah, technically this moe boy here is in a school outfit, technically, but it's high fashion enough it may have slipped by. Technically, this girl is in a school outfit. This, of course, is not a school outfit. That's more of a magical girl outfit. $17.99 with this big old content warning, discounted. So, what are we doing with adult games these days? It's been a while. It's already rated positive with 26. I guess I'm putting adult visual novels on the fall list until we get to a point where I can decide whether they are of a really high quality. Because if I ever do get to the point where I can cover them on Steam or maybe somewhere else,
I hope you like my invention.
I would like to have that list prepared and ready to go. Speaking of visual novels, the Fate Stay game, which is now 15 years old, I think I left that tab open actually to mention this, is not available on Steam. It's, I don't think, really available in English for sale on PC right now. It may have been at one time, but I can't remember what I actually found out about it. But yeah, it's not available on sale for Steam, and it's so old it would be very hard to justify playing it. A 15-year anniversary remaster, re-release, remake would be very much appreciated. The Fate Stay series, as it is, at least the original game, has some justification to exist in my mind. Let's see. What probably doesn't deserve to exist is this next game on Steam, which is a bunch of Asian characters / Psychosoft Limited, which looks like it's a bit of a joke game, visual novel simulation game. Doesn't seem quite good enough. It's English is not supported. That's an easy decision then. $1.19, and it's only simplified Chinese. So yeah, this is probably a kind of troll Chinese game or a cheap Chinese game. This honestly might be the first troll Chinese game I've seen. I was saying a couple streams ago, it's like I don't think I actually believe that there are troll Chinese games yet, because it's hard to classify them as that. They could just be really bad efforts at being sincere. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, the Eve Rebirth Terror opening movies. Let's see, Eve Rebirth Terror is due out for the PS4 and PS Vita on April 25th in Japan. Apparently it's not announced for the West, and it must be a visual novel. But let's see, is this part of the Eve series? Let's see, Eve Burst Air sequel. There was a game called Eve something that came out for the PlayStation, but I'm not sure this is related to that. Alright, let's hit this. Hit this. I don't know if I'd even be able to tell if this is related to Parasite Eve. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Parasite Eve. No, this isn't related to Parasite Eve. It's related to just another visual novel. Yeah. So, not really important information. A lot of these are. I should have spent an extra 5 minutes going through all of these. Can I do this?
I knew it.
I hunt alone.
It's in the turn here. Gamatsu has another article. Metal Slug XX is now available for PC. Upscaled graphics will support up to 4K. I'm not sure I'd ever actually want to play the Metal Slug series, but it is something I'm keeping an eye on. So, yeah. This was a game that was on the list anyways to talk about. So we have Metal Slug XX, which is, I guess, a remastered Metal Slug X. This came out January 31st, yeah. And it's already mostly negative. Interesting. So people probably are not happy about it, and I imagine people have been running emulators to play this. $19.99 seems like it's pretty expensive too. Let's look at this. Graphics and performance wise is great, however what makes this a bad port is the lack of control and graphics options. With no way to rebind keyboard controls in the game, you have a space to shoot, shift to jump, control for grenade, backspace for weapon change. I can't find any special attack button on the keyboard. The binding makes the game pretty much unplayable without a controller. No graphics option, which means no way to change to Windows mode or change resolution. As a plus, pressing escape insta quit the game. A thing called refund this game. Interesting. Alright, destroy a random enemy. I can't play any secret until somebody attacks. I have like 3 explosive traps in my hand. Yeah, there's another review. Horrible controls for keyboard and can't even rebind. So people are not happy with the lack of controller options for Metal Slug XX. So, in a case like this, where SNK put out a game that's not well received in its early release, I have to not put it on the follow list and just see if maybe there's a re-release or patch that comes out that people would talk about, so that I would know things have been improved. Otherwise, I'm just never gonna play it. You only get one opportunity to put your best foot forward, and if you fail to do that, that's pretty much your own fault. As a game developer, or as any other situation, frankly. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Dog in a Box, which looks like it's a VR game that is kind of just a troll game, it seems like. Yeah, it doesn't look particularly interesting. It's $6.99, so it's at the right price point, discounted. But Oh, I guess you're putting the dog together from pieces, or you're supposed to. Yeah, this is just another one of those joke games on Steam, in VR games on Steam. Yep, I have no interest in Dog in the Box. Just play that. And do that. And do that. I don't know why, but my computer has decided to get really noisy on this computer fan. I hope it's not burning out or anything like that. Maybe it's time for a reboot or something. Maybe put the fans all the way up, see if there's dust in them. Next, we've got a game on Steam called Eggy's Game Flash Collection, which looks like a collection of terrible Flash games. This is the last thing I want to see on Steam. I think Steam could easily put out a rule, we don't sell Flash games. And just with that phrase, eliminate this style of low effort games. Discounted to $1.79. I'm surprised more Flash games haven't been tried to put on Steam Direct, but I think even Steam Direct kind of knows that is, people on Steam Direct kind of know that's ridiculous. What happened there? I feel like I just won. Did I not just win? Apparently I just lost somehow. I'm not even paying enough attention to know. Gamasutra has an article. Konami enjoys a profitable 9 months thanks to a strong sports game sales. Well, Konami really doesn't have anything else besides sports games at this point. So,
I must protect
let's see.
the wild.
Pro Evolution Soccer 2019, the mobile game Professional Baseball Spirits Ace, and the chibi baseball game GQ Pawaforu Puro Yaku U 2018. I didn't pronounce that right at all. Yeah, Konami's not making, as far as I know, any other games. And I think they're barely even making those games. But somehow they had 9 months of profitability, assuming they're not just lying about it, which they might be. TechRaptor has an amazing announcement story, and this is certainly bearing the lead. I should have reported on this much earlier. Nintendo announces a mobile title, Dr. Mario World, and new mobile partnership. So the thing here is Dr. Mario is Tetris basically without the license.
For the wild.
Doing a mobile Dr. Mario, yeah, for some people it might be fun to play every now and then, but unless they put some amazing gameplay and mechanics behind it and do way better than Super Mario Run, it probably feels like this is just going to be another Super Mario Run. Let's see. Do I want to wait a turn? I'm going to wait a turn. So they're working with a company, Nintendo is, called Line Corporation, which is a mobile game developer known for titles such as Line Disney Tsum Tsum and Line Rangers. Line is a Japanese subsidiary of the Korean company NHN Entertainment, which will also play a part in operating the newly announced Dr. Mario World. So they're not working with DNA in this case, which would have been their partner before this point. That didn't work as well as I would have liked, but whatever.
Job's done.
the fact that they did a Mario Run game and Pokemon Go, and that's kind of it, and now they're doing Dr. Mario, it still feels like they're very much focusing on small, short experiences on mobile. They're not trying to put out a re-release of Game Boy games, or they're not even really going for like a Game & Watch collection, which would have been an interesting idea, or Donkey Kong 1, 2, and 3 on mobile, which would have been an interesting idea. The arcade Donkey Kong games. Let's see. Draw a card. Gain some armor. In the turn. Yeah, it feels like you should have done they should have announced something besides a Mario game though. Like a Zelda game on mobile or something. Like, it seems like they're using Mario too much. Okay. Play that again. Now I can do 6 damage to a minion. Or whatever that's worth.
For the wilds.
Take that. Next we have a game on Steam called Incubo. I like this art style. This looks like says it's a side-scrolling platformer, but the video I've been watching doesn't really seem like that. It's tagged violent adventure horror. So it's caught my interest. Dark themes often do, and that's why you see a lot of dark themed games out there, but the videos are definitely not showing a lot of gameplay, so this might not be much here, or this might be very short. But it's already rated positively. It's $5.94 discounted. I'll put this on the follow list, see if we can get a few more people to play it and give me a real indication of whether this might be interesting to play or not. It feels like the Daedalic game, Anna's Quest, in a lot of ways. Alright, still want to be a copy of anything?
Time waits for no one.
The circle of life is over.
There we go. And let's kill one of these guys. So yeah, I'll put that game on the follow list. And at this point, we're still not done with the Americas account. We're moving slow. It's time for the 5-hour energy drink. And the good news is this isn't expired because I looked at that first. Not that it being expired would probably change much. By the way, if you've never looked at the back of a 5-hour energy extra strength, it includes 8,333% of your daily recommended dose of vitamin B12 and 2,000% of your daily recommended dose of vitamin B6, 200% of the recommended dose of niacin, and 100% of your daily recommended dose of folic acid. and 18 milligrams of sodium, which is probably quite a... Well, actually that's not that much, but it's probably a lot for the small amount of 1.93 fluid ounces that you're drinking. And the energy blend itself has 2,000 milligrams of its proprietary taurine whatever mixture. See, if we played this, that won't work. If we play a spell that costs 5 or more, draw 3 cards. So my point there is, it is just like chock full of way more than you are supposed to have in a daily. And anyone else that I've ever seen drink a 5-hour energy drink extra strength
Death is eternal.
probably can only drink half a bottle and then regrets it horribly because it's just like a crazy amount of caffeine intake, or feels like it's that.
Your spirit twist the trees, foul the lake, and curse this land.
And I would agree with him. If I found anything else that wasn't so harsh, I wouldn't drink it. Or so extreme. Let's see.
Warriors of the frozen wastes, rise.
Let's see. +3 attack. Sure, let's get rid of this guy. Next we have a game on Steam called Necken, N-E-C-K-E-N, which seems like it is kind of a Zelda clone, but the animation's not that good. Feels like you're hopping from one tile to another tile for no reason. Kind of feels like Dance of the Dancer, but doesn't actually have that rhythm aspect. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just not seeing enough here that interests me. Feels like it's probably a roguelike. It's early access for $14.99. That's a pretty expensive price for a game that looks like this too. So I'm not really willing to put that on the follow list. Will that be silenced? Yes, it will. Alright. What do we want to do?
My thoughts are flaked, essence. The end has come.
Just attack, I guess. Let me look at this game. I think we already ended up talking about this game just through probably Gamatsu talking about it, so we don't have to put a lot of time into this, but it is now available on Steam. Yep. It's another sexual content idea factory RPG. So we have Record of the Argist War Marriage, which is not related to Record of the Lotus War. I was not thinking things through clearly. And you can see it's already mixed reviews. I'll probably put it on the follow list just to give it a little bit more time, but almost certainly this is not making it to the wish list. It doesn't look like it's particularly a interesting looking RPG. It doesn't look like it's animated that well. Looks like it might be a mobile port. They want $20.99 for it. There are other Argist games out there, but I don't even think they go in the in this direction. I think this is kind of a spin-off to be cutesy moe girls, for the most part. Let's see, what do we want to do here? Deal 5 damage.
Death is eternal. My turn is not.
See, this will be the last game of this recording because we might as well break it up into 2 recordings. This is going to take a while. This is a weird looking one in the screenshots. Interesting. Alright. Costs 1 less for each thing on the field. So let's play this. Oh, that was going up in price, not going down, wasn't it? Alright. In the turn. So, next game we have on Steam is How to Date a Magical Girl. And then you see these screenshots of not the best animated magical girls ever. And it's pretty good animation, but it's a little rough. And then you just have this one screenshot of just like bloody nails on the wall. And then you've got an animation here that's different for this visual novel, which is, I assume, what it is. And then you've got this. So it seems a little bit all over the place, but whatever. Let's see, $8.09 discounted. Let's see, it's English only, but not full audio English. I guess we could put this on the follow list and see where this goes. But this feels like this might very well not be up to the highest level of quality. I haven't heard of this developer or publisher either. Alright, back to this game. Play this. And do this. And I don't think I actually have enough here to survive.
Death is eternal. My turn is not.
Yeah. So, if he can do 1 more damage to me. Usually it's not this hard on the first day of a month to catch up and get victories. And see, this feels like my fear of things not really changing, even though it takes 3 stars to get up in rank. Yeah, it feels like that fear might turn out to be true. Perhaps with this new change, they did actually convince a bunch of people to come back and play Hearthstone again, and now I'm getting put up against some veteran players who had retired. Because like all I've needed to do for the last hour and 45 minutes really was get 3 victories, and I'm at rank 20 and I can't even get that 3rd victory. And we're still not seeing any announcement for a new expansion, so I'm not there yet where I would want to buy more cards or redo my decks and change it to top meta decks. I don't have enough dust, I don't have enough new cards, and I don't want to get into the point where every month I'm redoing my decks. Well, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list, or you can support me via Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.